And ladies, gentlemen, it's your boy Guy Chow, first of his name, host of the What's Packin Sports Show. It's the Monday edition. We usually would do the 5 W's for Packers victory, but since the Packers didn't play this week, being as though they had the number 1 seed, ding, I'm just going to be talking a little bit about the action that happened this Wildcard weekend, do a little soft preview of the Rams versus Packers game, and just discuss some of the other things that are happening around the NFL. If you have not yet, please hit that follow button. And also head over to my YouTube channel, What's Packin Sports Show. Hit subscribe, hit the notification bell. Because if you don't get a chance to catch the whole show, if you miss some part of it, or if you just want to see it again and support me and help me to grow on my YouTube channel as well, you can do that every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. I will be posting snippets and breakdowns and segments from the live show on my YouTube channel as well. You can also follow me on Twitter at What's Packin, and I'm also on Instagram now at What's_Packin. Okay, we got a lot of stuff to discuss because, as you know, this past weekend was action-packed, and I'm shocked, as is the rest of the football world, I'm sure, by what happened last night in the Steelers-Browns game. And we can start right there. The Steelers started out the season, 11-0, 10-0, something crazy like that. Then they lost a couple of games. They were dealing with a lot of injuries. And they had a chance, actually, at the end of the year to keep the Browns out of the playoffs. But instead of playing to win, they rested some of their starters. They narrowly defeated. They narrowly were defeated, I should say, by the Browns. But then Juju Smith-Schuster started talking shit on Twitter because he stopped. Well, not even on Twitter. He was asked in his post, I guess, weekly media availability, how he felt about this Browns team, and if he felt like this was a different Browns team. And instead of doing the PC thing, he's young and he's a little naive, and maybe he's a little too raw. Matt Cox _4. Thank you for the follow. I appreciate that. On a Monday, Victory Monday for the Browns and for the Saints and for the Bills and for the Ravens, for the Rams. And who else won this weekend? In Tampa Bay. And I'm going to be discussing all the wildcard action. And I'm starting out right now about the Browns' major upset victory over the Steelers. And here's what I want to say about Juju Smith-Schuster and the Steelers, man. Obviously, they didn't come to play yesterday, man. Or maybe they did come to play, but as Juju said, they were just expecting the Browns to be the same old Browns they've always been. They'd roll over and let the Steelers just walk all over them. The Steelers expected to just go, bully them. Man, I'm not sure if Juju Smith-Schuster is going to even be back. He's going to be a free agent. And after all of the antics that they did, that he kind of was involved in this year, if I was the GM, I think I would tell Juju, I shake his hand and say, thank you for your service. Thank you for your 4 years. But it's time for us to part ways because you just haven't been worth the headache. Now, you can say what you want to say about Antonio Brown, but when it came to game day, he was prepared. He was dedicated to greatness. And yeah, he had his antics off the field. Yeah, he had that one time in the locker room after that big win. He went on Facebook Live and he got in trouble, and everybody was kind of roasting him for that. AB never disappointed on the field. And that's what I want to say. That's the difference between him and Juju. AB had his antics, and yeah, he was kind of in the media for sometimes all the wrong things. But when it came to game day, he always showed up. He always showed out, and he was always locked in, man. I'm not sure if Ben is going to be back, man. Like, he was looking like he was contemplating life, man. At the end of the game, there was a picture of Ben, and he was just sitting there like he just didn't know what just happened to him. He looked like depressed / shocked / he was having like a silent breakdown. Like he couldn't really believe it. He looked like he couldn't believe what just happened to him. So I don't know if he's gonna be back, man. He didn't really play all that well this year. I think it's time for him to maybe think about retirement or definitely at the very least. I think the Steelers have to be looking at a viable replacement, whether it's someone young they bring in, like maybe they try to make a play for Watson, or maybe they try to make a play for Dak Prescott, or maybe they try to make a play for Carson Wentz or some shit like that. Or maybe the Eagles aren't sold on Jalen Hurts, and Pittsburgh can make a play for Jalen Hurts, or maybe they just draft a young guy. There's going to be like 4 or 5 young guys in this year's draft that I think are draft worthy. I'm happy for Cleveland though, man. I'm happy for the Browns. I'm happy for Baker Mayfield. I'm happy for the city of Cleveland. I'm happy for the state of Ohio. I'm glad that, Baker Mayfield got a chance to sort of kind of, I don't want to say vindicate himself, but I think a lot of people were starting to teeter on the side of Baker Mayfield maybe being a bust after winning the Heisman Trophy and going number 1 overall. People were starting to think maybe Baker was trending towards the bust. And now after this major upset victory leading the Browns to the playoffs after 18 years, it's like, okay, man, Baker, we see that you got the it factor. He has a little bit of the it factor. He had a pretty good game, 250 yards passing. They relied on the running game. They've got a great running game, a good offensive line. Their head coach and main play caller wasn't even there, and they were still able to execute their game plan and stay true to themselves. Baker threw 3 touchdowns. They got lots of contribution from Hooper and Landry and their 2-star running backs. And hey, man, I think the Browns have a chance to hang in there with the Chiefs. They're going to need a little bit more out of their defense. The defense didn't really get their pass rush going last night like they probably would have hoped, and they're going to need to have a lot more from their pass rush and Myles Garrett next weekend if they want to hope to beat the Chiefs, or maybe they just have another defensive touchdown on the very first play of the game like they did this week, but I doubt that very seriously. The Ravens this year kind of remind me of the Packers from 2010, right? You know what I'm saying? They had some ups and downs. We all know defensively they're talented, and offensively they run the ball really well. Lamar Jackson has kind of been off the mark this year, throwing the ball after winning MVP last year, and throwing for 36 touchdowns. He still ran for 1,000 yards this year, the only quarterback to ever do that in back-to-back seasons. This narrative was starting to build on Lamar Jackson that he couldn't get it done in the big games, that he was all regular season MVP, but postseason he shriveled up. But yesterday, Lamar Jackson put the team on his back, and no, he didn't have a great day throwing the football, but he did have some spectacular runs, and he was able to make plays when he needed to. And I think that's what it's about in the playoffs. I don't like it when these young quarterbacks who are used to running the football in college and having a lot of success with their athleticism get kind of shamed. And they become so concerned, they become so concerned with what the media and everyone is saying about their inability to stick in the pocket and be a pocket passer. And they start to look around at the Rodgers and the Bradys and the Mannings and the Mahomeses of the world and those pocket passers, and they say, I want to be like that. When the reality is, you aren't built like that right now. And that's not to say that Lamar Jackson can't become a more accurate, consistent pocket passer. I believe he certainly can. He's got the arm strength, and I think he's got the smarts to do it. But when he was at Louisville, they didn't teach him to read defenses, and they didn't teach him to work through his progressions, and they didn't have a pro-style offense. So he's not used to that. But what he is used to is the read option and running. So I feel like you have to cater to his strengths, and you can't try to force him into this pocket passer box. Let him be who he is right now and allow him to develop more into that quarterback that he can eventually become. The Buffalo Bills took on the Colts, and that game was actually much, much more competitive than I thought it was going to be. Buffalo was super hot, but I didn't know this until the telecast. The Colts were the only team in the NFL that had a top 10 offense, top 10 defense, and top 10 special teams unit. And yet still they couldn't get it done against the Bills on the road, which to me speaks to the fact that Phillip Rivers isn't really all that great. I'm not a Rivers guy, and I don't think Rivers belongs in the Hall of Fame because he's 4-7 in the playoffs, now 4-8. Now, I'm sorry. Yeah, 4-8 in the playoffs. He's had some really good teams in the past, played with a lot of Hall of Famers, and he's never really been able to get it done. And yesterday just proved to me, it sort of kind of just reaffirmed the narrative that I have and the idea that I have with Phillip Rivers, that he's just not. He's one tier below that upper echelon guys that deserve to be in the Hall of Fame, that can put their team on their back, that can make spectacular plays, and can really, single-handedly sort of affect the game. I guess I can just finish up with this and say that Buffalo is going to have to get more out of their defense. Coming into the game this weekend, they were leading the league in takeaways at home with 17, and they didn't get not one yesterday. And they're going to have to get some takeaways from Lamar Jackson and that Ravens team if they want to expect to win, because honestly, the way the Ravens are playing right now, if they can't get any takeaways and the Ravens do get some takeaways, as we saw the Ravens were able to take the ball away, I want to say at least once, maybe twice against Tannehill yesterday, which really kind of sealed the deal for them late. I think the Buffalo Bills can be upset at home in Buffalo if they don't generate any turnovers against the Ravens. So I'm going to need to see a little bit more out of Buffalo. They did sort of turn it on late offensively, but that Ravens defense, I think, is a little more athletic and a little more equipped to handle what the Buffalo Bills are going to want to do. Peters versus Diggs is going to be must-see TV. But to continue with my post-game wrap-up and reaction and analysis of the games, we're going to shift now to the Rams. As for the Rams and Seattle game, I was shocked. Well, I don't want to say shocked, but I was definitely surprised that the Rams beat the Seattle Seahawks so convincingly, even without Jared Goff at full strength. And they handled the Seattle Seahawks, honestly. I underestimated this Rams defense, man. And Jared Goff, he shows some toughness. I'm not really big on Jared Goff. I'm not a Goff guy. I don't really think he's. I don't even know if Goff is a top 15 cornerback. But I do think that Goff is good enough to get you to a Super Bowl. Obviously, he played in the Super Bowl 2 years ago, but I don't know if he's good enough to win you one. I don't think he's a kind of guy that can put the team on his back, so to speak. Or I don't think he's the kind of guy that can just take over a game, or if you got to have a drive on the fourth quarter of a game to win it or to tie it, or if you just need someone to make a play. I don't know if Goff has shown he has the ability to do that yet. I mean, he's still kind of young, and he can still develop maybe, but I think he has a limited ceiling. But I will say he showed me something, yesterday. He showed me something on Saturday. He showed me he's tough. He's a tough son of a gun, and he's willing to tough it out for his team. And he did have some passes that he threw down the field. They weren't just dinking and dunking. The next game I'm going to talk about is the Saints and the Bears game. I was a little surprised that the Saints allowed the Bears to hang in as long as they did. But as usual, the Bears, they did what the Bears do. They still sucked. When it came down to it, they had a pass that could have went for a touchdown. They dropped it. Mitchell Trubisky proved, even though he had some bright spots, he also showed why he's not the long-term answer, I don't think. The Saints, surprisingly to me, allowed the Bears to hang in there for a long time. And if you see the way that they were played, the way they played yesterday against that Bears defense, which is still a good defense, don't get me wrong. But I felt like with Michael Thomas and Samuels and Cook at tight end and Kamara at running back, I feel like they should have played better against the Bears. I was especially at home, so I was definitely surprised. And they got to play Tampa Bay, and right now Tampa Bay is clicking. Tampa Bay almost got knocked out by the Washington football team. They sort of narrowly escaped them in the Heineke hysteria. But, Tampa Bay, at the end of the day, they're a really good team. And I think on paper, they're the most talented team in the NFL offensively. I'll say they have the best collection of talent. So Tampa Bay, the Saints have their hands full with Tampa Bay. I'll say that. And after beating them soundly twice in the regular season, I feel like the Bucs are going to have the Saints number come this weekend. All the other teams that played their divisional opponents for the third time this weekend, the teams that had lost or were the underdogs won. The Saints, the Seahawks and the Rams played twice, of course, in the season. They split time. They split the Seahawks won one game, the Rams won the other game, and going into the game, the Seahawks were a 3.5-point favorite. They didn't cover. The Rams beat them. And then if you take the Browns and the Steelers, they played for the third time in a year. And, of course, as we know, the Browns were 6.5-point underdogs. They covered. So, and they won. The last game, I guess, to wrap it up with was the Tampa Bay, and I kind of already started talking about them, previewing their matchup. I liked what I saw from Tampa Bay against a really good, underrated Washington football team defense. They were able to spread the ball around. They have too many weapons. The Bucs have so many fucking weapons. They got the tight end. They got the little Scotty Miller, the little slot receiver. They got Godwin, and they got Evans, and then they got Antonio Brown. And then they got, oh, by the way, two big, powerful, fast, bruising running backs. And the cherry on top is they have, and I forgot to mention they have Gronkowski, and they have Brait, the other tight end. And then, the cherry on top is they have the greatest of all time, Tom Brady, 6-time Super Bowl champion.
Puda, you the GOAT, boy.